Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Natural Progression to Enterprise Voice. My name is Rob Riley. I am the speaker today from Business and Decision. I'm a principal consultant, and I've been specializing in Enterprise Voice back from when it was in OCS, Office Communication Server, up through Skype for Business, which it is transitioning to this month. Again, welcome. Today we're going to go over, I have a few main goals in this short webinar. One is, what is Lync Enterprise Voice? Two is, how can Lync Enterprise Voice be implemented? And three, really, what's the difference now between Skype for Business and Lync Enterprise Voice as it's being rebranded? First, let's talk a little bit about what is Lync. For those of you who have not implemented Lync into your enterprise environment, Lync itself is an instant messaging and presence collaboration tool that allows you to chat, share your desktop, share an application, and then add peer-to-peer voice and video conversations across your local network infrastructure. It's limited and it's managed by your IT infrastructure team. It can have connectivity to outside sources through federation for, again, voice over IP peer-to-peer type conversation through other Lync users. It's a great tool, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what we want to do with voice with that tool. Traditional enterprise voice, though, in your environment is typically a PBX system, Cisco, Avaya, ShoreTel. Also voice over IP systems. You might be getting your dial tone from a hosted solution where they provide you a phone and you connect over your data connection to their system in the cloud. Typically the connections are made via PRI lines, POTS lines, which is plain old telephone service, SIP trunks, which is the latest and greatest technology that's coming, improving the voice over IP quality and configuration of those options. And most of the time you're going to be using your handset to make and receive these calls. Traditional phones sitting next to your computers on your desks, or even cell phones or wireless phones are included usually in these traditional enterprise voice systems. And of course, everyone usually has a voicemail box that they can call into and check and listen to their voicemails with their PIN code. And then larger enterprise may have expanded their PBX systems to include call centers as well for your customer service groups. When we talk about voice calls, we're talking about calls that are traversing the public switch telephone network, the PSTN, which is commonly called. And you'll hear me refer to that throughout this presentation as well. And then plain old telephone service it's the same as the PSTN, but really refers to specific analog lines. You may have a POTS line at home if you have an analog line. In businesses, PRI lines are digital, and POTS lines, you could have 8, 16 POTS lines in a small organization. Again, mobile phones are part of the PSTN, and voice over IP can be part of the PSTN, but it's also a technology that really refers to any voice traffic that is converted to data packets and sent over your network infrastructure. The other piece to voice that is kind of a combination of voice and collaboration is dial-in conferencing. Typically, you get these services through an online meeting provider such as WebEx or GoToMeeting, or a conference call service such as AT&T or your whatever telecom provider that you have may provide their own conferencing package to you at a cost monthly, and they're usually charged per attendee per minute of the call. So if you had a 30-minute call with 10 participants that dialed in, you'd be charged for those 300 minutes worth of calling. And they also can include the web portion as well, like we're doing today with the webcasts and webinars and sharing content via, across the screen. So when we talk about what specifically is Lync Enterprise Voice, we talk about all the options that I began with regarding collaboration and IM presence, and then adding voice capabilities or a connection to the PSTN on top of that. as the title of the demonstration here is called, the natural progression of enterprise voice, we talk about when you're using that Lync client, how easy you made to escalate to a phone call. The natural kind of transgression of things is you're working with a coworker and you're in either different offices or different parts of the building, and you start with an IM conversation, asking a question, and the other person may say, this is too long to type, let's add voice, and then they add the voice over IP, peer-to-peer Lync voice call. And then they decide that maybe the resource that they needed to be part of that conversation isn't on Lync, isn't part of their organization, is traveling, is only reachable by cell phone, and they can easily now, when you add enterprise voice, include that person directly in the conversation they've already started. So it's a great way to build from, very a small starting point to increasing your group, the size of the people helping on problem or the conversation, by being able to reach out outside of your actual, computer network infrastructure and get to people wherever they are, wherever they can be. When you use Lync Enterprise Voice, some of the additional features that you gain when you collaborate with Exchange 2013, Exchange 2010 in the background, Office 365, Exchange Online, are some advanced voicemail features, auto attendance, conversation history. So your Lync conversations, IM, can be saved directly in your inbox, so you can reference them later as well. It allows users, like I said, to call online meetings as well. So you may be using a WebEx and paying a monthly charge for that WebEx meeting, which allows users to call in and share content. But you may have also already made an investment in Lync, and Lync itself provides Lync meetings. Now, typically without some sort of enterprise voice or enterprise voice connectivity, users cannot use their cell phones, their desk phones, or outside of the organization to dial into the call. So by adding enterprise voice features to your Lync environment, you allow your users to do that. The voice features within Lync as well include your typical features: call ID, call waiting, simultaneous ring, follow me as it may be called, so it can ring your Lync phone first and then your cell phone after a certain amount of rings and then be sent to voicemail. Of course, we have do not disturb IVR response groups that when a user calls in, that can be led through an interactive system to direct them to the right hunt group of people that can, any customer service group that can answer the call. We can do serial, parallel, all kinds of routing in those response groups for it's a small call center type implementation. Of course, it supports direct inward dials, which is having, typically you'd buy a block of, say, 200 numbers for a small to medium-sized organization and assign each individual that number or a number out of that group of numbers, so that when someone's calling them, they can have a direct number to that user. However, if you like to maybe not have direct lines in and just want to go extension-based, then you can use extensions as well. Both are fully supported within Lync Enterprise Voice. Some of the more advanced features when you talk about your enterprise infrastructure and how it may not just be one office, may not just exist in one continent or one country, but you have multiple offices connected by WAN infrastructure. Now, you've probably already made an expensive investment into a WAN infrastructure to support your data needs between your offices, and you might be able to leverage that to do some things to decrease your phone charges as well. For instance, let's say you had an office here in the U.S. and you had an office in France, and you were making a lot of local calls to French companies. Well, instead of using up international charges by cutting out the PSTN in the United States, you might be able to transfer the WAN connectivity to your office in France and use the lines that already exist there to make local calls. Again, same thing applies in the United States, it's just different parts of the country, right? You can use least cost routing to really cut down on those long distance international charges and take advantage of that WAN infrastructure. When you do that, there are things like quality of service that you need, QoS as it's called. which provide ample bandwidth or prioritized bandwidth for your voice traffic across your WAN infrastructure. This will allow for the call quality that's required to make sure that those calls go through as well as sound good to your users. Of course, 911 and E911 are supported fully in Lync Enterprise Voice. Some features do require some third parties for advanced E911 capabilities, but some of those features are combined with the features built into Lync, give you the ability to have a user dial 911 and have the call directed to the proper 911 authority in their region, and also pass the correct address as well as down to a floor or maybe even a cube level, depending on how far you want to go with your 911 provider. But that functionality starts from the pieces of Lync Enterprise Voice that are built into the system. Call admission control, this actually goes back to a little bit of your WAN utilization and monitoring and control. Call admission control saves pieces of your WAN data connection for telephony, or it maximizes what it can actually use, so it doesn't trump your data traffic. Because just as important here as your voice traffic is, your data traffic is as well for your line of business application. So the call admission control will allow only a certain number of calls to go through so that your data connection stays available for your applications. But it also allows for certain callers and certain groups to make sure that their calls do go through. So if you had an executive, you never want his call to be denied. So you're going to make sure that that person is in a specific class of service that gets prioritized treatment across the WAN infrastructure. Toll-free numbers are supported. And one of the biggest things we see in Lync Enterprise Voice that is really a difference are the handsets versus headsets. When you are a user sitting at your computer all day, living within email and the web browser and your line of business applications that reside on that PC, it only makes sense to have your telephony built into those tools that you're always using right in front of you. By adding just a handset or a headset versus an external headset, your collaboration is all within one window. You have click to dial. You can escalate a phone call within Lync to a third-party person. You can start conference calls. You have your meetings you can join. It all becomes very collaborative and all very user-focused in one piece. And without having to have the extra expenditure of a handset or learning how to which button on your phone to transfer a call or to initiate three-way calling or put someone on hold and pick them up. When the GUI and the mouse clicking and the Lync client itself become very much more user-friendly and much more easy to learn for that user to transition. So how can Lync Enterprise Voice be implemented in your environment? Well, obviously, if you're greenfield, if you're net new, it's very simple. As you roll out Lync Enterprise or Lync 2013 server, you can roll phone voice connectivity directly into the product at that time. There are many qualified Microsoft partner providers that will provide SIP trunking or equipment that is directly compatible with Lync 2013 out of the box. Some of it doesn't even require hardware. Some of it is just IP over IP traffic, and you can just configure within the Lync the access to that. And then your only investment here in the greenfield, besides the Lync infrastructure, might be handsets. You can do an analog gateway, which can allow some fax connectivity if you're sharing. If you're putting all of your telecom into, say, a SIP trunk, you can split that SIP trunk off to your fax analog calls as well. Most commonly what we see, though, is users that have already obviously purchased and implemented a PBX system. We can do a phased PBX replacement. We see that a lot. It makes a lot of sense when you have old equipment and you don't want to upgrade or purchase new, or you're just trying to consolidate. And what we can do is we can use that existing infrastructure that you have as the gateway transition to Lync 2013 with Enterprise Voice. A lot of the more modern systems like Avaya and Cisco provide direct SIP connectivity. So that's, again, is voice over your network infrastructure between two, essentially, servers at this point. And what that allows you to do is transition users slowly off of that PBX environment while still maintaining your call tabs, your partitions, your routing that already exists in your environment. So, for example, if you had 3 PRI lines and they were going into a PBX system that supported direct SIP, all you would have to do is direct that PBX system for when someone calls in with that DID or that extension, it matches a rule that sends it to Lync 2013 and it would ring the user's phone there. On the Lync side, you also have rules that would allow your callers to pick up their Lync client, dial a phone number, and it would route the call to the PBX system, which would then use the rules you've already standardized on as far as least cost routing and adding the one if it's long distance or taking away the one if it's local, and going out those existing PRI lines to make phone calls. Now, as you do this at some point, you can decide what point of your transition does it make more sense to actually transition those PRI lines through equipment to Lync 2013 and have that be the brains, and then the smaller population that still lives on the PBX to be kind of the sub in that case. Coexistence is another form of that phased PBX replacement, as you can keep those in place. You don't necessarily have to remove the PBX. You've made an investment, and you're still using that investment. You're still paying for that investment in that PBX system. It's very functional for what you need for your office workers. But at some point, you may look at and see that you have a remote user workforce that you are paying monthly cell phone bills for. You're reimbursing them for their cell phone. And if you give them, what you can do is you can extend Lync to them as an extension of your phone system. And they can use their laptop. So wherever they are, essentially if they have their laptop, they have a phone. And it can be going through the Lync client, and the Lync client and the Lync server can still be taking advantage of those same SIP trunks or PRI lines or POP lines that you've made the investment in the PBX on-premise infrastructure. So it's great for small satellite offices where you might need just a little loud phones for, a handful of people, and then have everybody else still communicate via the PBX system. And with that direct SIP connection, you can make calls from Lync to the users on PBX. So you can still do 4-digit dialing or 5-digit dialing between users and still have that collaboration within the phone system as well. One of the pieces that I mentioned before, the dial-in conferencing, can almost be used as a stepping stone to Lync Enterprise Voice in your environment. By default, Lync meetings are voice over IP only. And then when you add certain connectivity, like the SIP trunk dedicated to the Lync server, or the direct SIP to a existing PBX system that houses your existing phone lines, you can then use that to add PSTN connectivity to your Lync meetings, providing the dial-in conferencing piece. So that's a great first way to add any enterprise voice capabilities, because once you get that connection to your PBX system up, then it just becomes a matter of defining rules for extensions for users as well. So it's a great first step. The other thing you can do is you can just do dial-in conferencing. Maybe you do have that heavy investment and you don't want to provide enterprise voice for users, but that voice piece with dial-in conferencing, you can get a provider that would provide at no monthly charges sometimes, but they just charge per minute per user per call. So it could be that you don't use it a lot, but when you do use it, it needs to be there. And you need it to not clog up the phone lines on, on your PRI system. Because typically on a PRI line, you have 23 channels. So if you want to start a conference call and using your own infrastructure, you need to make sure you have enough calls, enough room for those calls, as well as your daily normal volume of calls that are happening throughout your organization. When we talk about how to combine the systems and access dial-in conferencing and connectivity with PBX systems, I've mentioned direct SIP connections because those typically work best and are easiest to deploy with modern-day phone systems. However, there's gateways and other pieces of hardware that will enable you to take old legacy systems that might just be analog and also connect them to Lync as well. And what these gateways do is they provide the media transcoding to take, physical POTS lines and convert them to digital, signaling that Lync needs in order to make and receive those phone calls. So those are great devices that you can use to extend your Lync system to local to small branches as well. Sometimes you may have a Lync system that all your central phones are centralized in the data center, but you have a remote location. You just want to make sure that they have a couple POTS lines there just to route out local calls for least cost routing or keep a local phone number. And you could put a small gateway in that will convert those analog lines or PRI lines or whatever they are to the systems or to the media that Lync Voice needs. Also, for some of the bigger remote offices that you have, they have devices that are kind of all-in-one boxes that are survivable branch appliances. These boxes not only do the gateway portion, the media transcoding, but they provide a local Lync server presence as well. So that if you lose WAN connectivity, your users in that office, not only can they still continue to make their Lync Enterprise Voice calls through their line, but they continue to have their IM conversations locally as well. It's a nice solution for small offices, but that require uptime as well. Now, last week, Microsoft kind of threw us for not a loop. It was expected, but they made the announcement. Skype for Business. Skype for Business essentially is a rebranding of Lync 2013. Originally, when Microsoft purchased Skype several years ago, it stood alone as its own product line. Officially, in the last year, Lync has become part of the Skype product line, which is why they're rebranding and why they're trying to provide a similar interface for both end users and business users as an easy transition from users that may have been using Skype in the past to be able to transition to Lync or Skype for Business in their enterprise as well. So initially what's releasing in the next month or so are a rebranding. The client interface will look a little different. It'll look more like the Skype interface. They have in-place upgrades now for Lync 2013. So Lync 2013 on-premise servers will soon become, through upgrades, Skype for Business server. They've increased the HA features by utilizing SQL always on for backend databases. In the past, they used SQL clustering back in OCS in 2010 to SQL mirroring in Lync 2013, and now they have SQL always on for some extra redundancy in the backend services. Call via work, you'll see that in the announcements as well. And what that is a rebranding itself of what used to be called remote call control. And what that remote call control would do was it would allow you to use your existing PBX equipment, but start your phone calls via your Lync system. So if you had someone on Lync and you wanted to dial that phone call, dial that person's phone, you can initiate the call through Lync, and what it would do is send a signal back to the back-end PBX that handles your environment, and that would start the call on your handset, and you'd pick that up and continue your call there. That also would provide the reverse capability of showing presence as to when you are on the phone as well, so that if you picked up your PBX line and were making a phone call, that would be shown on your presence as in a call, so that users would know that, not to disturb you, or they may have a hard time getting rid of you reaching you because you are on a phone call at the time. And then with one of the big features that they've added to Skype for Business, as Skype is very much known as a video calling mechanism, and they've had in the past year linked to Skype video capabilities. But people who've made an equipment in the Cisco Tandberg video solutions have always had to find a third party or a physical gateway that can help transition the two services together to give you and utilize that investment to make your Lync video calls and your Lync video conferences. And they've built that now into Skype for Business with native interoperability. So that should help ease that transition with the environment as well before you start investing in Lync room systems and the other Lync specific video solutions. Now, Lync to 2013 Skype for Business, Lync to Skype for Business bits will be available in April for on-premise upgrades. So starting as of next month, people will start being able to roll out those new features on their on-premise environment. Lync Online will transition to Skype for Business. So if you're part of an Office 365 user and you have Lync in your enterprise package or small business package, that will become Skype for Business by the end of May 2015. And then the second half of 2015, some of the advanced voice functionality is supposed to come to Office 365. We're not exactly clear as to what that will be yet. It could be more integrated dial-in conferencing in Office 365, but we're hoping it's going to stretch to some enterprise voice calling capabilities, either leverage your voice infrastructure on-premise that you've invested in, or to eventually replace it where you can have all of your Lync infrastructure in Office 365. So we'll have more to come on that in the second half of 2015. So I know that was short and sweet, a lot of information. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for any questions at this point. I'll give a few minutes for people here to, if there's anything they can think of, come to mind, put that in there. The first question that came up was, can the Lync 2013 client be upgraded on the user's desktops without a server upgrade, or which should be done first? I do believe the Lync 2013 client can be upgraded. The functionality that they may see will not be, they won't be able to take advantage until they do the back end. So typically in the rollouts I've done in the past with the major upgrades, we time it the same. There is a technical preview out currently that you can download if you've run the MSI installation of Lync 2013. You can use the technical preview to upgrade your version of Lync, and it is backwards compatible with Lync 2013 and Lync 2010. So you can see exactly what that would look like to your users before you upgrade the back end, what features they can and cannot use there. Just on that same note, if you're using Office 365 Professional Plus, where you're doing the click-to-run bits from Office 365, I imagine that starting probably in that April-May timeframe as well, you'll start to see the upgrade to the Lync Skype for Business client being deployed. You cannot currently run the technical preview for Skype for Business if you're using those click-to-run bits. You'd have to uninstall and install the MSI version to do that. Next question I got is a great one. Are you finding that more companies are starting to adopt Lync today? Yes, absolutely. Lync in general is being very widely used. I believe one of the Microsoft statistics are that 95% of the Fortune 500 companies are using Lync today for their IM and presence, and more of those companies are seeing the transition to enterprise voice as well. I can't give you exact figures on that portion, but Lync has also made this year made I believe it's called the Magic Quadrant in the Gartner report for unified communications as one of the leaders, right up there with Cisco and the other big players in that arena. Well, I'll just give it a couple more minutes here in case anybody's still typing away. Should be very exciting what we see when the Skype for Business transition comes. Part of that, also one of the things they released the same day they released made the Skype for Business announcement is that they've also announced Office 2016. So you should start seeing that coming out as well. And then, of course, Windows 10 this summer will be releasing to the general public as well. And I think you'll see a lot of upcoming integration between Windows 10, Skype for Business, and Office 2016. Should make the experience even better than it is today. Great, couple more questions have come through. How can we prepare for a Lync upgrade? We have a voice over IP solution, but many of these features would be great as well. Well, depending on the voice over IP solution, typically, if it's already voice over IP, it may have some direct SIP capabilities. One of the great ways to start is to see what you can do to make your existing voice system talk, via direct SIP to Lync, and then start using Lync just to mess around, put a few users on, let them have a route that goes through that existing voice over IP system, and start making phone calls and see how you like the experience. Standing up a Lync system, if you haven't done that already, doesn't require. There are standard and enterprise versions of Lync. Both versions fully support enterprise voice. The difference being for the enterprise edition that you have multiple servers with a SQL backend database for high availability. And the standard edition includes SQL Express running on the same box. So essentially for a POC environment, pilot environment, or even just a small company, you could stand up a single server with standard edition Lync and support all the features, including enterprise voice, on that single server. Next question, would we have to uninstall Office for all users if we are currently click to run and reinstall the MSI package in order to use Skype for Business? You would only have to use that if you wanted to put all of your users on the technical preview. I imagine that in the next 6 weeks or so, we'll see that the click to run versions will be released. And by the time this is actually, live production, you should be able to use those click to run versions and not have to do a massive uninstall, reinstall in order to do that. But currently for users that want to use the technical preview, you would have to uninstall. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else today, I'd really like to thank everybody for their time. And if you have any questions, we are Business Decision, and please use our website to reach out to us and let us know how we can help you in your enterprise voice deployments, Lync deployments, Office 365. We're here to help. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.